Hello again, everyone. So starting off Cleveland week, I'm going to look at the Indians. So the Indians play in the AL Central in the MLB. They play in the same division as the White Sox, Tigers, Royals, and Twins. They've started off this season with a 2-4 record, and there's only two teams left in the whole MLB that are still undefeated. And of course, those teams are the Tigers and the Royals. So the Indians are going to have a tough season if this trend continues. I don't think the Tigers, the Royals, are going to win 162 games this year, but they're definitely in a tough division, especially with the White Sox. They've started off the same record as the Indians, 2-4. Twins are 1-5. You can't really project what's going to happen this season after only a week. But the Tigers and Royals are obviously going to be the two tough teams in that division. The White Sox, I think, also have a solid chance to win it. But I do think the Indians have assets and have talent that they're not just going to let them run away with this division. They're going to be competitive, and they're going to have an opportunity to compete in this division. Looking at what they did in the offseason, they traded their second baseman, Wendell, for Moss, who played for the A's last year, first baseman, right fielder, that kind of guy who can play multiple positions, good veteran guy to have on a team. They also signed right-handed pitcher Floyd, who currently right now is on the DL. Last year he had a 2.65 ERA with a 2-2 record and 45 strikeouts and 54 and a third innings pitched with the Braves. So he's coming from a successful team for sure, but he is right now on the DL. So we'll see what happens once he gets off the DL. Speaking of the DL, big hit to them, obviously. Recently, Yan Gomes is now on the DL, out for 6 to 8 weeks. Currently, he's on the 15-day DL, so we'll see if they move him to the 30-day DL. We'll see if he does need the full 6 to 8 weeks to get back. He might only need 4. It all depends on how well his rehab goes and all those situations and aspects are going to come into effect on how quickly he'll get back to the team. Nick Swisher is also on the DL, so that's another veteran presence, good guy to have in the clubhouse. The positive guy, keeps the energy up. He's on the DL as well. So looking at how those guys did last year, obviously Yan Gomes last year with a 278 average, 21 home runs, 74 RBIs. Catchers aren't usually a power position, but Yan Gomes does have pop in his bat, so that's a hard bat to lose for the next month or so. So hopefully he can get back quick. Nick Swisher last year, kind of an off season. He only had a 208 average with 8 home runs and 42 RBIs. He did only play in 97 games, so that could be part of the reason why his stats were down. He only played in just over half a season. But somebody that once he gets back from the DL, he's going to contribute, whether that be off the bench, whether that be DHing, whether that be playing at first. We'll see what happens once he gets back from the DL. So I'm going to look at their outfield first. Obviously, you got Michael Bourn in center field last year, 257 average, 3 home runs, 28 RBIs. And then you got Brantley out in left field. Last year, fantastic season for him last year, 327 average, 20 home runs, 97 RBIs, 45 doubles, and then he also chipped in with 23 stolen bases. So he's a guy that's got power and he's got speed. So when he gets on base, he's going to get in the pitcher's head and he's going to make an impact. Whether that's through stealing a base, whether that's through being able to score from first on a deep single, getting from first to third with his speed that he has, as well as being a guy that can hit 20 home runs in a season. He's got pop on his bat too, so he's tough for pitchers to deal with for sure, and a great left fielder for the team to have. Playing out in right field so far this season, it has been Moss that they picked up from the A's. Last year with the A's, he had a 234 average with 25 home runs and 81 RBIs, so he's another guy that's got power in his bat. So you got guys with speed and you got guys with power, and I think that's what an MLB team needs in order to be successful. You have to have guys that have the speed aspect in their game. You have to have guys that have the power aspect. If you only have one dimension, then your team's only going to be one-dimensional, and that's not what successful teams have. You need to be able to keep the pitchers on edge, keep your opponents on edge, and use the small ball to your opportunity with your speed guys. When you have guys on first and second, no outs, and it's the bottom of the 7th, and you got Brandon Moss or you got Santana or you got Gomes coming up to the plate, and they can hit a 3-run homer, that's fantastic. So that those are aspects that all teams need. You have to be able to play the game in both manners. Switching into the infield now, speaking of Santana, their first baseman, was a catcher for the team for a lot of years, but after they signed Gomes to that long-term deal, they've moved him to first base. You do see that happen with a lot of catchers with later on in their career. They will move either to a DH position if they're playing the American League or first base. Joe Mauer's done that with the Twins, and I'm sure other catchers in the future will possibly go along that road as well. So Santana last year had a 231 average with 27 home runs and 85 RBIs. So good power guy. So you got that power aspect with him for sure. Also looking at the infield, you got your second baseman Kipnis and your third baseman Chisnall. Last year, Kipnis 240 average, 6 home runs, 41 RBIs, 22 stolen bases. So he's another good speed guy. Between Brantley and Kipnis, you could easily get 50 stolen bases between those two guys in a season. Chisenhall last year with a 280 average, 13 home runs, 59 RBIs. So he's got a little more pop in his bat than Kipnis, but still solid guys to have at second and third base. I'm now going to look at their starting rotation. Obviously, Corey Kluber, Cy Young last year, 18-9 record, 2.44 ERA, 269 strikeouts to 235.2 innings pitched. Recently signed him to a long-term deal. Got to lock a player like that up. He's a guy that you can build your starting rotation around. You can build your pitching staff around, and a guy that has the potential to be a 20-game winner and is going to continue to give you 200 innings a season if he stays healthy and can be a strikeout per inning pitcher. That's somebody that's going to be the ace of any franchise. He is the ace of the Indians, which are an up and coming team, a struggling team, a team that's kind of on the rebound. But even I think if Kluber was playing on a team like the Tigers or the Royals in his division, he would be maybe a number 2, possibly the ace of those rotations as well. So we'll see what happens with him as his career continues, but good to have him locked up for the next while. Carrasco obviously is their number 2 guy, 8-7 last year with a 2.55 ERA, 140 strikeouts to 134 innings pitched. So he's another strikeout per inning guy. They've locked him up now as well, so they got their number 1 and 2 pitchers locked up for the foreseeable future. And they got Gomes locked up for the foreseeable future. So you got your 1 and 2 starting pitchers as well as your catcher locked up. So if they can continue to build chemistry, continue to build a dynamic amongst the 3 of them, then you're going to have a solid starting rotation. That's at least top of your starting rotation, and be able to compete in a very tough division in the AL Central. Rounding out their rotation, they got Bauer and McAllister and House. Bauer last year 5-8 with a 4.18 ERA. McAllister was 4-7 with a 5.23 ERA, and then House was 5-3 with a 3.35 ERA. So they're solid guys. They're good number 3, 4, 5 starters. I do think this next upcoming season, or maybe they'll make a trade this season, depending on how they're doing around the All-Star break, if they can make a push to the playoffs. I think they need to find a player like Mark Burley, who can be, a 12 to 15 win guy, but more importantly, is going to give you 200 plus innings pitched. Of those 5 guys that I've just mentioned, Corey Kluber was the only guy that surpassed the 200 inning pitch mark last season. So I think they just need to find a veteran who can be a number 3 or 4 starter, who's going to be more of a guy that can give you innings more than necessarily give you a lot of wins and strikeouts. Obviously, wins are important and strikeouts are important, but getting the innings in there is going to keep your bullpen rested and not have your bullpen burnt out by July 1st kind of thing. So that's where I think they can improve on their starting rotation, but they got Kluber and Carrasco locked up, so they got their 1 and 2 good to go for the next little while. Allen is their closer. Obviously last year 6-4 with a 2.07 ERA, 91 strikeouts per 69.2 innings pitched, as well as 24 saves. So he's a solid closer. I don't think you need to worry about the closer position with him having that position locked. I think he's a solid closer. Obviously, one pitcher that is kind of surprising, he's starting the season in AAA, Danny Salazar. Last year, 4.25 ERA, 6-8 record, 120 strikeouts to 110 innings pitched. So he is a strikeout per inning pitcher. I would suspect he's going to get called up sometime this season, depending on how well he's doing in AAA, especially if one of the 3 starting pitchers, Bauer, McAllister, or House, kind of falter. I would see Salazar getting called up because I do see him being a part of their rotation and a part of their future, especially with how he played last year. He can be a strikeout per inning guy. I think he just needs a little more time to grow, a little more time to develop, but I do see him being another part of their starting rotation for the next little while. So those are my thoughts on the Cleveland Indians. Thank you again all for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at GHAM614. I'll be talking to you tomorrow about the Cleveland Cavaliers of the NBA as the NBA season is coming to a close, and we'll see how they're going to do in the playoffs, but we'll get to the Cavaliers tomorrow. Thanks again. Bye.